it sounds more scientific when you've got a German accent. Our last finalist in the category of medical and biological sciences will be Ms. Molly Fox. Ms. Fox has obtained a double major from Yale University in the fields of biological anthropology and theatre studies, both in 2008. She is currently a PhD candidate at the University of Cambridge, Department of Biological Anthropology, and she will be presenting her research on the evolution of human longevity. A big round of applause for Ms. Molly Fox, please.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. Hi, I'm going to be talking about how evolution has shaped the length of the human lifespan and what that means for the role of the elderly in society, as well as what it means for diseases that affect the elderly, such as Alzheimer's disease. Now, it's a common misconception, actually, that living well into old age is only a result of modern medicine. In fact, we've always lived well into old age, and often living into your 70s and sometimes even into your 80s has been the norm in our species. And scientists have largely been unable to explain why we have such long lives, especially beyond the ability to have kids, in the case of women, beyond men. And I think that the answer lies in genetics. So when we think about the genetic relatedness between individuals in different generations, it's actually pretty straightforward and the patterns are predictable. However, when we look at the X and Y chromosomes, which are the sex chromosomes, the part of the genome that determines whether you're a male or a female, those are inherited in asymmetric ways. And that leads to an unusually complex system of genetic similarity between members of a family. For instance, a girl is more closely genetically related to her father's mother than she is to her mother's mother. And a boy is the opposite. He's actually more genetically similar to his mother's mother than to his father's mother. In fact, between a boy and a paternal grandmother, there is no sex chromosome relatedness at all. And so I looked at the effect that grandmothers have on the survival of their grandchildren in 7 different populations ranging across 4 continents and 5 centuries. And what I found was that in all 7 populations, boys were more likely to survive their toddlerhood if they lived with their maternal grandmother, with whom they share sex chromosomes, as opposed to their paternal grandmother, with whom they don't. And what's more was that I found that the presence of a paternal grandmother living in the home actually had a harmful effect, increasing a boy's chance of dying as a toddler in all of the populations, while the opposite was true for girls. The presence of a paternal grandmother actually enhanced a girl's likelihood of surviving toddlerhood. And so in general, we can say that there is some evidence for a genetic basis to the evolution of longevity in humans, and that is linked to the advantages in a family of long lifespans. Now, however, this is in conflict with the fact that in the modern world today, we see that 1 in 6 women will develop Alzheimer's, which renders them not an advantage to their family, but rather a detriment. And I think that this can be reconciled by considering the possibility that women today actually have higher rates of Alzheimer's than they would have in the past. And I think that that change is due to a change in reproductive patterns. So the female hormones made in the ovaries, estrogen and progesterone, actually have an effect on the brain in ways that are specific to Alzheimer's disease. Estrogen is protective in many ways that are related to Alzheimer's, while progesterone may even limit estrogen's protection. And this is a known interaction, so lots of studies have looked at how hormone medications, such as oral contraceptive pills and hormone replacement therapy, might influence Alzheimer's risk. But the medical community has largely ignored a much more important way in which hormone exposure varies between women, and that's reproductive state. So when we look at different reproductive states, such as pregnancy and breastfeeding, we find that there's a profound difference in levels of hormones in these natural doses. For instance, in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, a woman has about 200 times as much estrogen as she does during a normal menstrual cycle. And so what I've done is collected information on women's reproductive history from the whole course of their reproductive history from puberty to menopause, as well as information on their use of hormone medications. And I've measured their degree of Alzheimer's type dementia in old age. And all of this in order to determine whether the cumulative lifetime exposure to these hormones might influence dementia risk. Now, the most practical implication of this kind of research would be to identify new lifestyle risk factors for Alzheimer's disease and the potential for hormone medications. But another important factor would be that if we're able to reveal with my research that maybe natural reproductive practices, such as prolonged breastfeeding duration, could be protective for the mother against Alzheimer's risk. That would encourage mothers in a new way to choose breastfeeding over formula feeding. And a byproduct of that would be that the advantages of breastfeeding for infants extend to every aspect of their health and well-being. Now, in general, my research takes a holistic approach to understanding human longevity and human health by integrating information from across the lifespan and between different generations in order to better understand not only human health and disease, but also the important role of the elderly in human society, both past and present. Thanks very much.